Hello and welcome to Coping with Donald. I'm Phil. It is February 5th, 2006. It is Thursday. And in the United States, it's about 11 a.m. We have a lot of things here to go over. I'm going to go over them briefly. There's just too many things, okay? Only the first couple have to do with Donald Trump at all. Um, the first one's actually the most frightening one, and then we're going to try to get um, a little bit lighter on some of these things. They poke fun at a few people, not even Melania. Okay, so we have to pause it because I'm going to sneeze. I'll be right back. Yes, the allergies are really kicking in today. Donald Trump is looking to fire 50,000 more government workers and replace them with a new class of worker. Totally different classification. Not where you get your job with the federal government and then you are basically an employee as if you were for a private company. Okay? But as someone who has to be loyal to Trump, he wants a classification of workers that he could fire at will, basically for anything. And that includes not doing his will. And I don't mean his death will. I mean whatever he wants. Okay? If you are not, just think of 50,000 Caroline Levitts. All right? The press secretary. This is very dangerous. Not just because it's Trump. It's dangerous because it's Trump, yeah. But would you want Biden to have a staff that doesn't work really for you, the people, or for the federal government? They would work for Biden, or they would work for Obama, or would work for George W. Bush. They're not doing things now in your best interest, or even in the federal government or the country's best interest, only in the leader's best interest. That's a really negative thing. I'm going to leave it at that. And as a former government worker, in a way, as a post office employee, can you imagine being fired because you don't like the dear leader? And in my office, believe me, I was one of the few who didn't like the dear leader. Um, the second thing is oil prices. Oil prices have been going up. Oil prices are going up because Donald Trump is saber rattling again with Iran. Expect the prices at the pump to go over $3 soon. I know we were just talking about, yeah. One of the thing is he brought down gas prices and everything to $2.60. Uh, they're at they're at a point where they're higher than most of the last couple of years, the oil prices, because as you talk about possible disruptions in the Middle East, that makes the oil more expensive. Oh boy, so many things. Fabulous Fergie. Probably don't know who I'm talking about. Fabulous Fergie. I remember a cover. I don't know if it was People magazine or an article in it or even another magazine, but in my postal years, I remember coming across a 6 or 8 magazines all bundled together, and I had to, take the straps off of them and everything. And their cover was Dazzling Di and Fabulous Fergie. And it was like, Dazzling Di, Fabulous Fergie. This is about 30 years ago, I would suppose. All right. And obviously, Diana was still alive. Fabulous Fergie is not so fabulous right now. She has been implicated in the Epstein files over and over and over. She was a pretty good bud with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? She was, I mean, I can imagine she was a good friend to Ghislaine Maxwell as well. But Fabulous Fergie, oh boy, there's some dirty stuff in there. Talking about her daughter's, Fabulous Fergie's daughter's sex life to Jeffrey Epstein. Boy, that was a poor choice. Things like that. But she was in contact with him for many years. And even in one email, she says something like she's praising Jeffrey a little bit, and then she says at the end, marry me, which of course could be just a joke. But even still, it does prove that she liked Jeffrey a lot. Nancy Mace in Congress, representative from South Carolina, is really going off the rails. Okay, unfortunately, a whole bunch of stuff on her is coming out. She is a very shaky individual. You wouldn't want your son to be dating her. Okay, and but she's in Congress and has been for about 6 years. She wants to run for governor. She is the. It's coming out that she would ask her aides for the craziest stuff, like she'd be having a. She was drinking a lot apparently, and she would be asking her aides to go out and get her bottles of tequila at 2 in the morning. She would be waking them up to get bottles of tequila at 2 in the morning, and even funnier, this gets worse. There apparently is a thread on Reddit that has something to do with the quote hottest women in Congress unquote, and Nancy Mace would have her aides post on that to keep her name up there and keep it relevant, and talk about you know uh, how hot she was. Sorry. She would have her aides post that stuff to keep her up near the top of hot women in Congress. I'm not going to even make a comment. I kind of actually think that if Nancy Mace wasn't so evil, she could be kind of cute, but she's not stable. Um, all right, where are we now? We're doing great so far, huh? 7 minutes. Look at everything that we've talked about. The market is continuing the same trends that it has been all week. It could just turn around next week and everybody forgets all the worries and all the problems. But basically, everything that's been happening all week is happening today. Bitcoin is down a lot. Um, a lot of tech stocks are down. Google is down, and they reported last night. Uh, it's a basically it's a redistribution of money from technology stocks, which were so sky high, to more stable, stodgy, steady stocks. And it has not been going well for technology. And since a lot of people have a lot of money in technology, you don't want to be seeing your stock go down 7% 2 or 3 days in a row. Okay? Just to remind you, when a stock is 20% off its peak price, it's considered in a bear market for that stock. The markets overall are down about 1% at this hour, so they're still not even 5% off of their all time highs. So just think how far this could go. Um, and then finally, we're going to end with another guy whose stock is down today, and that's Elon Musk. Tesla is down today. I believe it was under 400. It had been 500 a couple months ago, just near the all time highs. Elon Musk. The man wants a $1 trillion pay package. $1 trillion. And I don't know over how many years, but it's $1 trillion. I want to put that in a little perspective. He gave Donald Trump $300 million to get elected and destroy democracy and ruin the country and all that kind of stuff. So he gave him about $300 million. If you have $1 million in the bank, which I don't, and most people don't. If you gave $30 of that $1 million to a political candidate, I don't think you'd feel it very much. That was the equivalent if Elon Musk gets this pay package, just from the pay package, not from his previous wealth or his stock ownership or anything like that. He would get, it would be like giving $30 on a $1 million bank account. Shows you how rich the man actually is. And Elon Musk, something going on there, okay? Besides the ketamine, because he wants to rush his company SpaceX to the stock market as soon as possible. This would be breaking tradition and breaking rules for when a company becomes publicly known to where it's included into the NASDAQ or the S&P 500, things like that. When a stock is included into those indices, there are people in, well, there are funds that track the indices that are obligated to buy that stock simply because it's in the indice, which would make, of course, the price go up. So if he's included in these indices, the SpaceX issue would be much greater. And especially since he wants to combine SpaceX with his AI startup, which I don't even know the name of because the man's a ketamine addict and I don't care. But it sets up the whole system for a fall. Not just that stock, the whole system. If we're going to start bending rules, I think I think the stock markets would want him to prove the viability and the financial statements of said company before they let him in, and he is insisting on it now. Plus, just keep this in mind. He wants to either have special rules or in present rules where when that happens, anyone with the company who is awarded a bunch of shares, as Elon Musk obviously would, the present rule is you are on lockdown from selling it. You're not allowed to sell it for 6 months or something like that. Sometimes I think it's even more. Elon wants to waive those rules so he could sell it, his share of the stocks, right away. Now, when SpaceX goes to market, it's obviously going to raise a bunch of money for SpaceX and the AI that he has. And when it's included in the indices, it's going to raise even more. And then he wants to sell it when he considers it to be the peak. Well, that leaves everybody else holding the shares of a company that may or may not be viable. And as you can see right now in the stock market, we are not confident that AI is viable and going to produce enough in the American life, in the American economy, to change our economics, to actually make us more wealthy. In fact, we might all be losing a lot of jobs that would have been pretty good jobs, such as consulting, such as legal, and software development. So Elon apparently maybe has financial problems. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, Elon Musk with financial problems, or maybe he's just more greedy than anyone could ever imagine a person being. But this is what he wants. However, if it failed and his company fails and AI fails, the stock market would drop a lot and we could go into a recession the likes of which we've never seen because of the greed of just a few people at the top. When you look at Epstein, and the connections that everybody, including Elon, had with Epstein. This really is an incredible collection of 0.01% people at the top in government, in film, in society. Yeah, well, I said film, but Hollywood, sports, even. The people that are the richest live differently than everybody else, and there's just a few of them, and they decide where the economy goes. I mean, you want to talk about a swamp and a rigged system? There really is control with just a few people at the top. And that was kind of a low note to end on, but just be as careful as you can. Try to take care of you and your own. Do the best you can, because the old American dream of all you have to do is show up for work and try your best and work extra hard. The kids are onto this, and they know it's not real. Donald Trump just the other day said this was painful. But Donald Trump just the other day was talking about housing prices, and he said he doesn't want housing prices to go down. He wants them to stay up. Because, as he put it, if housing prices come down, that means a bunch of people will get houses that didn't have to do too much for them. He said something along those lines. Didn't have to work for it. Didn't have to. They don't deserve. A bunch of people who don't deserve to have houses would have houses. What does that mean? First of all, is he saying that half of the American people shouldn't have housing? Or own their own house? Or even be able to rent a place? That statement alone, I think, said so much about Donald Trump. Anyway, I really hope you stayed through this whole thing. Please leave a comment. There's a lot to leave a comment on in this. And subscribe if you want to. We're going for 50. Might take a few years. By then, Donald will be out. And then, what am I going to... I can't keep calling it Coping with Donald unless I find another Donald to cope with. All right, everybody. Have as good a day as possible and just do your best in life. And love your family and just hug on them. And I'll talk to you next time.